Okay, perfect. My name is Lionel. I'm the co-founder of Tech Makers Amsterdam. We are a startup community. We like to inspire, connect, and empower our members through a series of events, but also like we are like very active on Slack, helping each other. Usually we love to meet in person, but for the time being, it's not possible. So we decided to shift our events online and to keep inspiring and gathering insights from people from all over the world. So for us, actually, it's a great opportunity because maybe we would not have met you in other circumstances. Okay. So today we will, I'm really happy to moderate the talk with a great host, Olga. She will introduce herself like very quickly, and we will discuss the exploration of opportunities with COVID-19. Okay, Olga, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Super excited to be hosting this particular talk because I'm a big believer in predictive, being predictive vs proactive. And I think this is one of the very few times in history when we can actually build a strategy based on the data that we have instead of just like they did before. What do you think our customers might like? And then it's just assumptions and assumptions. I come from, my background is really mixed. So I have masters in linguistics and intercultural communication, an MBA, and also a master in business analytics and big data. So I'm trying to combine, all knowledge to come up with the best strategy. And I think right now, with the post-COVID situation, it's very important to take the best from the both sides. So you do need to come up with the solutions and base your conclusions on proper data, and you do need to analyze the what we have already. At the same time, you do need to remember that there's also a human aspect in it. And right now, one thing you need to keep in mind is that whenever you read an article or you hear a speaker saying, we predict that this is what's going to happen next month, next year, or whatever, most of the time it's just an opinion. And if you want to base your strategy, if you want to base your new business or whatever on someone's opinion about what's going to happen, you do need to dig in more into this and understand why this person is predicting this and this. Because sometimes it's just a gut feeling, and you also have a gut feeling, sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes it's the conclusion or it's a prediction based on a lot of data, but the data might be totally biased. The good thing about this crisis is that it's in no way a black swan. So things like this happened before, which makes it easier for us to predict and to come up with the new solutions because it's not something extraordinary. Another good thing about it is that, let's be honest, it did not really change much. It only enforced the points, the trends that we already saw coming. It's just that everyone's been a bit too comfortable, a bit too lazy to do things. And now, all of a sudden, it's do this or get out of the business. So it's super important to look at the trends, but it's also super important to understand that there's a human component behind it. And people do not like the change. Everyone's talking about the new reality. Nobody wants a new reality. Everyone wants the old reality. So even though there are trends saying that, well, this is going to be a totally different way, maybe not, or maybe not that fast. I love the examples of one of my former teachers who whenever he talks about change, we all say that change is great, innovation is fantastic, and we all understand that we want the change. And then whenever we come to the supermarket and they've changed literally, they've placed the bread into a different aisle, and we're like, this is already the change we hate, so imagine more disruptive stuff. So you do need to understand that the human nature will not change overnight. So definitely you need to take a look at the behavioral change towards innovation and towards technology and technology adoption. But do keep in mind that it's not in the human nature to embrace the change. Another thing that you have to keep in mind when you're thinking of the opportunity that this crisis will bring, people lie. So, yeah, they do. I mean, the only one that knows the truth is Google search. The rest is just totally unreliable. So a lot of those assumptions about the opportunities or how the world is going to look after the crisis is based on what people say, and most of the time they lie. So if you check the hashtags, for example, on social media, it's funny. You can like immediately guess the hashtags people will put on those kinds of posts. If you check, for example, when it's over, 100% of the posts are about post-COVID, because the whole world knows exactly what we mean by when it's over. And a lot of those forecasts are based on social media and the tweets and the hashtags. And yes, a lot of people say, oh, when it's over, I'm going to go back to the gym. Yeah, the question is, how often did you go before? So focusing on only those posts on the social media, a lot of time it's wishful thinking. People do tend to miss what they don't have, but once they can have access to it again, it loses the value. So don't be fooled by those promises of, oh, when it's over, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to invest in this, because maybe they won't. So, and also when you read about the forecasts, do make sure you understand where the forecasts are coming from, because sometimes they're coming from exactly this, analyzing tweets, and the tweets say, I'll be doing this, this, and this. If they never did, they probably will not be doing this again. Another advice is don't focus on the quick fixes, because if the solution is too obvious, probably it's already being done by someone who had an extra, spare million to invest. If you will have to start from scratch to build a solution, probably by the time you build it, another 100 companies will have it, not to mention that the need will be gone, because the corona thing seemed to be super scary and disruptive in the beginning, and now it's almost getting back to normal. So if you want to build something basing on the fact that this is post-COVID, do make long-term plans, because and once again, this crisis is not that different from what we had before. So think of the trends we could see before and that are being reinforced by the crisis, and focus on those. For example, we did see the trend of contactless pay, which makes all the sense in the world. Now it's just being reinforced by the crisis. So you can take a look at that. But jumping into production of face masks, for example, unless you already have a business in sewing kitchen aprons, then go for it. Otherwise, don't try to ride the wave right now, because the wave might be shorter than you think. And there are lots of people, lots of companies that are better equipped to do that. But do think of how this crisis reinforces the trends, and also try to think 2 steps ahead and see what's happening and see what it might bring. For example, with the corona, clearly a lot of people have to give up their privacy. People have to, the governments are reinforcing new systems, and you'll have to share a lot of your private data. You'll have to, the GPS, for the contactless paying stuff, we'll have the cameras everywhere, the way we pay, the way we're going through all kinds of procedures, the safety, security. Until recently, a lot of people would reject certain marketing tools because they thought, well, for that, I need to give up my data. Now, at a certain point, it will be like, well, everyone has it anyway. And like it or not, people will be slowly, I think we're still a little bit in the denial phase, but at a certain point, people will have to accept the fact that we do need to, lose a lot of our privacy for the sake of security, which means that emotionally people will be less worried, less anxious, less concerned about their private data because it's already been shared, So they might actually accept another tool to optimize something for them because the privacy concern, the security concern will not be there anymore because there's no privacy anyway. So if you're building a marketing tool based on someone's actions, like before, you log in, you use Wi-Fi locally, and then you get immediately a pop-up ad from the shop across the street because they know you're there. Some people will be a bit concerned before that, oh, damn it, so now someone knows I'm here, and they might not be willing to use the tools. Right now, maybe this concern will be a bit less. So whatever you do with the marketing, especially with the predictive analytics, with the predictive marketing, might be a good idea because, again, people will be less concerned about sharing their private data. We do see a shift in the shopping behavior, which means that the non-interesting shopping is going online, but shopping in brick and mortar stores is becoming experience. So if you are in architecture or design, you can already think of the solutions you can come up with for the physical stores to make sure that they are safe to shop at, but they're also fun to shop at, because otherwise it's online. And even though delivery is becoming a huge trend, what those people realize sometimes is that some people go to certain shops partly for the experience, to touch stuff, to taste stuff, to talk to the people. It's part of the experience. So think of how you can actually improve that experience, again, if you have the background. So that's one thing that if you're in design architecture, you can definitely focus on. Gaming, if you're by any chance in gaming, then lucky you, because gaming was already was already bigger trend than big data a year ago. So the people who really know what they're doing, they were already going into the gaming with VR, AR, and stuff. So gaming, and then edutainment, which is also a big trend, and which is the trend that was there already. And it's something really important to focus on, because with the technology, a lot of people will be not losing their jobs, but they will be redundant. They will not have to do their job anymore. They have a lot of free time in their hands. So creating new solutions, education and entertainment for the people who finally have a lot of free time was already there a couple of years ago. Now what we saw these days is that a lot of people actually got stuck at home, being bored, and this is when it will be super cool to give them this option. But it wasn't there. It was Netflix and Netflix, luckily for Netflix. So the additional stuff for education entertainment is definitely a very good idea. Now, in terms of education itself, we see a huge shift, because the truth is that educational institutions, they don't provide education, they provide certification. And this is why Coursera and all those platforms are becoming so popular, because at the end of the day, the money people pay for the education makes no sense. The margin is just ridiculously high. What the universities are seeing these days is that the people who initially signed up for those expensive MBAs and stuff, they're dropping out, because they say, if it's not live, if it's going to be done online, I don't want to pay this money. This money doesn't make any sense for me right now. So another thing you can think of is how you can not disrupt, but optimize the educational process. And what are the components of education that people really value. Because let's be honest, again, if we all had the self-control and the discipline to study online, we would all be professors by now. So there is a component missing in the online education at the moment, which still makes people pay dozens and dozens of thousands euro to do it online, to have the teacher with a whip. Is that what they're missing in online education? Or is that the team building, meeting new people? Because that might be also the case. And right now, the big trend in education is for the universities to team up with the tech companies. So it becomes, let's say, hybrid education. But some of this stuff can definitely be done online. But the truth is that education is one of the most bonding experiences. And this is where you need to think of the human component of this as well.
I like this, Olga, sorry,
yeah.
on that, because one of our members, the tech makers, is Fontella Cuenta, the managing director of Growth Tribe. And actually, they just released a new kind of online education experience with an app, some team building, so some recorded materials. So it's very interesting. It's really like illustrate what you just mentioned about the need of education to evolve, to go like to a new model, which is not just passive consumptions of information. Please go ahead.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, the industries are not dead, but there's no way they're going to be functioning the way they were. It's like what we saw many years in publishing. Publishing is not dead, but it's not going to be that easy anymore, So you need to be constantly, if not disrupting, at least innovating, at least understanding, how you can adjust to the new reality, which is not that different from the old reality, but you still need to make an effort. The good thing about the crisis is also that apparently statistically people are trying out the new brands. So if you want to launch something new, now is the time. This is definitely a fantastic time for the marketeers, because for the first time in I don't know how many years, the whole world has the common vector. So you can come up with very simple strategies, very simple campaigns, and a lot of people will understand, because there are lots of things that now everyone can relate to. And you don't need to adjust too much to different countries, to different target audiences, because you can say a couple of trigger words and everyone will understand immediately what the product is about and get the story. So you can do amazing, beautiful storytelling, because now we're all kind of in the same reality. We're all going through the same process. So this could be actually a lot of fun, for the marketeers to play with this. And right now, the big temptation is to put things on hold, which is something that is not the right thing to do right now. You should actually invest more into marketing, because when it's over, and it's almost over, it's just going to be slightly different. But you do need to make sure that your strategy combines resilience and agility. So keep on doing, keep on working, keep on pushing, but do keep an eye on what's going on. And once again, if you see people on Instagram launching online, gym classes, it doesn't mean that anyone attends the classes. So don't be fooled by certain noises, and try to always think 2 steps ahead. So I don't know, for example, now we're having a lot of deliveries, yeah? Might be a bit too late for you to go into the delivery business, but think 2 steps ahead. Think of what those companies might need. So if it's more deliveries, they need more bags to do deliveries, they need more packaging. Maybe if you're in paper business, you can come up with some super cool packaging that maybe you might sell not to delivery companies, but to the restaurants that are not used to actually even take away. Think that if you cannot afford something super global, think of more targeted solutions that you can still make money with, because the market is big. But think 2 steps ahead. If I don't know if most of the people will end up having COVID at a certain point. It means that most people will go through pneumonia and lose some of their lung capacity. What can we do with this now? For example, the diving is going to be gone because you can't really dive properly if your lungs are affected. Think of all the holiday destinations where diving is the only thing people do there. So if you're in travel, try to think a bit long term. If you're in sports, try to think a bit of long term and imagine all those resorts, all those diving clubs and stuff that will be at a certain point gone or lose half of the customers, because this is a serious matter. Diving is not, it's not snorkeling. So all the places, all the people there, all the infrastructure, think of how you might use that. And try to think of that, because I mean there are some obvious solutions. There are some obvious things like, I don't know, telehealth or telemedicine. Yeah, naturally. But then again, if you are in computer vision, definitely you can help the doctors. You know, you can give them the tools that they can use during the telecom. But try to be more creative. Try to think a couple of steps ahead of what you can actually come up with. Something not too global, huge, but some just a tiny tweak. And yeah, start with that.
Excellent. Thank you for all these great insights, Olga. If it's okay for you, we might start the Q&A now.
Yeah, sure.
So guys, please, I will try to have the gallery view. Yeah. Is there any question or comment, or you want to share some insights with the rest of the group? Heiko?
Oh, well, maybe some interpretation on your on the, let's say, the red line through your story is basically then not try to tap in on the current event, for example producing face masks, but extract from the current events the how people basically start to behave in a different way and tap in on that. That's more or less the red line in your talk, right?
I would say so, because in any crisis there are people who make money, but most of the time those are the people who have some free money and they can quickly, you know, spend it, invest it, and do something. Unless you're in that situation, try to think more long term.
Excellent. I can underline it. Basically, one of an acquaintance of mine, he had a small printing factory in Thailand. He put it up and it didn't really run well until he's now printing the face mask for print.com. So he was in place and he's just making, yeah, let's say he's making better money from his from the crisis than he did before.
Yeah, but I would maybe, like, if I might comment it, it's more like a pivot, and he already had some assets. So
exactly,
it doesn't start from scratch. So
he has a process, he has the machines, yeah, and he's just scaling it up.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the capacity to do something quick, lucky you. But if you're not in that position, most probably by the time you come up with your printer,
yeah.
I would be curious to know who is working in what industry, in what field. So maybe you have actually some insights from there.
Okay, from my left screen, Victoria.
Yeah, I'm actually not working yet. I'm a student, but I'm about to graduate and I study international management.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And what's your view on it?
My view on...
Or how do you experience this new reality?
Yeah, it's crazy. I found this really interesting, like really insightful. But yeah, it's true that especially now with so much uncertainty, it makes looking for a job harder, and everything is more unstable. So it's like everything is quite uncertain. So yes, but we'll see. I mean, I haven't finished my studies yet, but I'm yeah.
Okay, thank you. Maria? You're calling from New York? No, I don't know. Where
No, it's actually Moscow, but I'm now located in Germany. Yeah. And I would have to drop from the call because I have a call like at my work. But yeah, thanks a lot for the insights. I have met Olga maybe 7 years ago in Moscow or 5 years ago, and I saw that yeah, she would host this webinar on LinkedIn, and I decided to join as well. So now I'm currently working for a startup which was developed within DHL, and it's an online platform, and we're helping companies to improve their supply chain risk management. So we're visualizing their supply networks, and we show them where the incidents are happening. So besides the COVID, we also show anything what can disrupt their supply networks. Now, for example, the hurricane season is coming after the COVID, so companies should always be aware of like where the most trigger comes and how they can proactively react, not by getting alert from the supplier, oh my god, the tsunami or earthquake just affected me, I will not give you the products on time. But you can rather also try to predict. So not like Olga mentioned that you have a data that you can use for the prediction. This is a bit different, but you can at least with the weather, you can already sort of predict and try to mitigate the risks on time. And at least not like when you cannot directly have like a change or impact, at least you can make your clients aware that there might be some delays, and you can like keep up with the good name of your brand as well. So yeah, that's what we're doing. But besides that, I'm also always interested in what are other startups out there doing. And I think Amsterdam has lots of things to offer. I also have another friend there working in another, it's like a startup accelerator. So yeah, I hope when everything is over to visit Amsterdam to meet up with Olga and another friend. And
with us.
Yeah, and of course, it would be nice.
Oh,
so maybe I would connect with all of you after the call, but unfortunately now I have to drop. Yeah.
We are very active on Slack, so I will share with all of you the link. So if you want to join it, it's for free, and we help each other. We share insights. So.
Great, and hopefully to meet you maybe this summer in Amsterdam.
Yeah. Keep fingers crossed. Thank you, Maria.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Hi, Marco. You're calling from Tallinn? No, I don't remember.
Yes, I'm from Tallinn. Yes. So basically, I also met Olga in some of the, I don't know, was it in Lithuania or Estonia? I don't remember.
I think it was Tech Chill.
Yeah, okay, Latvia then. Okay, but anyway, so basically, I have been doing different startups, and one of them, some of them have been in insurance, and so basically, we found out that there is an opportunity, not directly coming from the COVID, but the COVID kind of reminded us that there is like events cancellation insurance, which one is available only for the, like a big players or very specifically defined risks. But basically, we are at the moment preparing one. This is just like an ad hoc project, which one started from some other kind of like COVID relief hackathon, but it ended up like it started in Austria, but it ended up with a team of Estonians and Austrians. So basically, this is that the companies could, that the crowd could insure their risks, but it's kind of like a betting. So basically, so somebody would say that I would like to ensure that in November there is no COVID kind of distancing for events. And so some other people who would like to take the risk would say, okay, I'm gonna bet you, like I'm gonna insure you for like 10 or 1,000 or 500 euros or 100 euros and so on. So basically, we are building at the moment this platform to kind of do this crowd insurance, but it's not actually insurance; it's kind of crowd betting insurance. Or so we are kind of taking the risk either some event happens or not. So this is like one of the side tracks that I'm involved in. But for a couple of last 2 years, we have tried to do a crop insurance data aggregation, and we actually applied to different accelerators in the US, in Argentina, but we are actually very happy that we didn't get accepted, because you could imagine being in US in March now, and so it would have been quite a stressful moment there. So basically, but this is like just to aggregate the farming data and give it up to the insurers to make the underwriting and claims management decisions. And so I'm also doing some. I thought that it would be a good chance to sell like a mobile app-based work task management and work task like monitoring solution after the COVID started. But unfortunately, actually, the companies, I had like a really good negotiations with different companies, but the companies really, they all got blocked, so they stopped everything new. So they were just like very much engaged in managing the crisis on that moment. So basically, now I'm hoping that after the effective measures will be toned down, that maybe they will get back, because basically it is just for the people working in physical labor, so some like cleaners, maintenance guys, and so on. So basically, using a mobile app, you could give them work tasks and follow when they filled out, where they filled out, and how they filled out. So basically, it would be a perfect solution for this non-contact environment which one we are going to live now. So these are things which one I've been actively doing now.
Thank you. Olga, I have a question for you.
Yep.
To comment like Marco's points, I took part in and you too, I think, in the Dutch chapter of Hack the Crisis Hackathon.
Okay.
And in Amsterdam, there were, in the Netherlands chapter, there were like 750 participants, which was just fantastic. The event was set in 2 weeks, and we saw like people from all over the world willing to take part in it. So how do you see that, Olga, in terms of co-creation? Because we used to work like within companies. Some companies would open to like consultants or hackers, but now I do believe that maybe it's going to also impact the way we all collaborate as a society. So what's your view on that?
I think it's a great idea for a sprint, definitely. It worked beautifully during the weekend. And then when you follow up on this a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, it's a totally different game. And I do believe that we do miss a bit of person-to-person, contact. It's lovely to do this all online, but you eventually lose the feeling of the team. This is what I've been noticing with a lot of teams, actually, that in the beginning everyone's super excited, then the reality kicks in and it's not that easy anymore. I definitely believe that the more international the team is, the better for something global. If you need to solve a local issue, it does make sense to have mainly local participants, because like this is all great and rosy, but what I'm seeing right now, for example, is that in my team, very few people speak Dutch. So, and we're solving a problem which is here. So what we see is that in the end of the day, the people who are doing the marketing can't even write the marketing text in Dutch because they don't speak Dutch. And this whole idea of having international teams is lovely, but you also need to understand that sometimes the reality kicks in, and having a bunch of expats working for the Dutch market doesn't make sense because they don't understand the Dutch market. So again, it's got its pros and cons. It's super cool to have an international team. Sometimes a local team might do a better job. And being all working remotely is lovely. It's super flexible, gives you a lot of freedom, but sometimes what people miss is indeed, the Friday drinks and hugs and just feeling the vibe, feeling each other's energy. So we're all humans after all. So yeah, technology progress, lovely, but emotional intelligence is something that I think is going to become even more of a hot topic, because the more technology we get, the more need for emotional intelligence we'll have.
Definitely. Maybe we will, if you have a last question to ask Olga. Eiko, Marco, or Victoria, do you have any other question or comment? No? Okay. So I think it's time to close this talk. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Olga, for these great insights and perspective about the future, but also like very hands-on. And there are some very interesting topics you address, and that would require maybe like more longer talk around, especially the privacy aspect. And the experience also, what you mentioned, like offline experience. What will we expect when we will go like to a retail store tomorrow compared to yesterday? So guys, have a lovely day and hope to see you for an upcoming event. Okay?
Yeah, guys, thanks for joining.
Sorry, Marco?
Have a good lunch.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.